Thank you very much, David. And it's a great honor to have such a terrific collaboration between the Albuquerque Museum and Chatter musicians. This summer we're going to be heading into our third series of concerts organized by Chatter in conjunction with our summer exhibitions, and it's just a great collaboration. Thank you so much for doing those concerts. Just 2 weeks ago they did a concert at the museum in conjunction with the Goya exhibition. This exhibition is a wonderful and eye-opening opportunity for us. And I was very honored when I was asked to come talk, and I thought, what a great April Fool's joke. On the first day of National Poetry Month, you invite a non-poet to talk. So I want to thank you very much for that invitation, Pamela. Francisco Goya was a Spanish artist, and in 1799 he published what is probably the most influential series of prints ever produced by a Western artist. And these images are simply titled Los Caprichos, or the Follies, or the Caprices. And up until the time that Goya published these prints, that word generally meant sort of lighthearted entertainment. And Goya did not allow us to have that sort of entertainment. These are deeply provocative images. And one of the things, when we started looking at the text for Goya about these works, my collaborator, our curator of education, Elizabeth Becker, and I thought, we don't want to do academic text about each one of these 80 images. Let's let Goya speak. In the 1820s, presumably, the curator from the Parrot Museum in Madrid wrote to Goya and said, presumably, Mr. Goya, maybe Senor Goya, people don't understand what these images are that we've been showing. Could you perhaps give us some explanation? And so in the archives of the Parrot Museum in Madrid, there is a manuscript that looks like it's in Goya's hand, although there's no signature. And these descriptions are what we chose to simply put on the wall with each image. And they were translated, the translation that I'm going to be reading and that we have on the walls were done in about the 1880s by an English scholar of Spanish art. The English were some of the first people outside of Spain that really began to look seriously at Spanish art. And so these translations basically have a little bit of a Victorian feel to them, but I hope you will bear with me. All I want to do is describe a little bit the image and then read, presumably, Goya's description. The poetry is astounding, and this was truly an eye-opening experience for me. I've seen these images reproduced hundreds of times, and yet I don't think I've ever seen a first edition, the prints that were personally made by Francisco Goya. And they're astoundingly clear images. Not only are they great works of art, but the commentary that Goya uses are equally profound and relevant. In our comment book at the museum, we constantly get messages saying how nothing has changed over the past 213 years. The messages that he passed on continue to be relevant today. So I'm going to describe a few of the images and then read Goya's comments. Goya and his wife had 14 children, only one of whom lived to adulthood. So Goya was very committed to children and to making sure that children have the opportunity to grow up in a sane world, or trying to hope that children grow up in a sane world. One of the first images, number 3 in the series of 80, is simply titled, "Here Comes the Boogeyman." And there's a scary figure and 2 little children that are cowering around their mother as this scary figure without a face sort of enters the dark room. His text: "Lamentable abuse of early education, to cause a child to fear the boogeyman, and so make it afraid of something that does not exist." Number 4, Nannies Boy, which has what looks like a boy dressed in children's clothes with his toys attached to his belt, and he's being carried around by a servant because he is such a little baby, but he does have a full beard and mustache. A grown-up boy, Nanny's Boy. "Negligence, tolerance, and spoiling make children lazy and insufferable. They grow up and yet remain childish. This is Nanny's little boy." Perhaps my favorite image A man seated in front of this odd pyramidal structure, this pyramid sort of thing in the background, that makes no sense in the image. And lying across his lap is a woman dressed only in her negligee, seemingly, and she's lying almost dead, although you get a little sense that there's a little glimmer of life left in her eye. One of her eyes looks like it might be slightly open. She's lying in his lap as the man is wringing his hands in horror and fear and sadness. It's called Tantalus, after the Greek legend of the man who could never quite reach what he was striving for. The text, simply, if he were a better lover and less of a bore, she would revive. Some things are just poetic. The counterpart to that. A woman holding a man who's dressed in a soldier's uniform. There is a sword cast down on the side, and he's fallen against a wall. She's trying to hold him up as blood drips down his side. See here a lover who, unable to laugh at his rival, dies in the arms of his beloved and loses her by his daring. It is inadvisable to draw the sword too often. Number 13, a group of monks sitting at their table with huge bowls of soup, pouring soup down their throats. They are hot, is the title. They are in such a hurry to gobble it down that they swallow it boiling hot. Even in pleasure, temperance and moderation are necessary. Number 14, what a sacrifice. How things are. The fiancé is not very attractive, but he is rich, and at the cost of the freedom of an unhappy girl, the security of a hungry family is acquired. It is the way of the world. It's incredible how relevant. Yes. 213 years, and still they speak. Why hide them? This is an image, number 30 in the series of 80, of an old man grabbing his 2 bags of gold, presumably gold, or with mini bags underneath him as he's sitting on them, holding them close to his chest while others are around him. Why hide them? The answer is easy. The reason he doesn't want to spend them, and does not spend, is because although he is over 80 and can't live another month, he still fears that he will live long enough to lack money. So mistaken are the calculations of avarice. Number 34, a group of sleeping figures in some decrepit street or alley with trash piled up around them. Sleep overcomes them. Don't wake them. Sleep is perhaps the only happiness of the wretched. A musical note. There is a monkey playing a guitar, listened to by an ass who seems to be very, very happy with the music of the monkey. Bravo! If ears, the donkey's ears, were all that were needed to appreciate it, no one could listen more intently. But it is to be feared that he is applauding what is soundless. Even a monkey can't make music on the back of a guitar. And indeed, the guitar is turned around backwards. The monkey is strumming with no strings. The image that's reproduced on your program, number 39 in the series. And so was his grandfather. This poor animal has been driven mad by genealogists and heralds. He's not the only one. Who of us measures his value based on supposedly noble lineage? Number 42, thou who canst not. 2 young men looking in very disheveled clothes are playing the horses for 2 asses that are riding on their backs. These two men seem to be struggling under the weight as the asses are having a very good time riding around on these two men. Thou who canst not, who would not say that these two cavaliers are cavalry? Is it not the job of the poor and powerless to support the rich and powerful? That's not relevant today. Perhaps the most important or the most easily recognized image in the group is number 43. It's called The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters. And it's a self-portrait of Goya asleep basically on his drawing desk while demons are springing from his imagination. He's surrounded by cats and bats and owls, all sort of emerging from his mind of the imagination. Goya was very much influenced by Jean-Jacques Rousseau and other philosophers of the French Revolution who really felt that reason was the only thing that's going to get us through this in this world. The sleep of reason produces monsters. Imagination abandoned by reason produces impossible monsters. United with her, she is the mother of the arts and the source of their wonders. Number 53 has a parrot sitting in what looks like a pulpit or on some stage like this, I guess, preaching to a bunch of people whose mouths are wide open, listening. What a golden beak. This looks a bit like an academic meeting. Perhaps the parrot is speaking about medicine. However, don't believe a word he says. There is many a doctor who has a golden beak when he is talking, but when it comes to prescriptions, he's a Herod. He can ramble on about pains, but can't cure them. He makes fools of sick people and fills the cemeteries with skulls. A group of monsters that's just about to leave. Goya was very interested in witches, a group that's just about to take flight and leave their site of evening activities. When the day breaks, we will be off. Even if you hadn't come, you wouldn't have been missed. It takes me a while to get that one, too. Those double negatives always trip me up. Number 72, a woman who's just about to be caught by a group of demons and monsters. You will not escape, is the title. She who wants to be caught never escapes. The last image in the series, number 80. A group of demons, after they've been doing their evil work, a group of witches together in a pile at the bottom as they're beginning to sort of clean up and pick the meat, the dead people out of their teeth, brush themselves off with the crumbs of the detritus that they've been eating, are about to head off for the day and disappear. It is time. Then, when dawn threatens, each one goes on his way. Witches, hobgoblins, apparitions, and phantoms. It is a good thing that these creatures do not allow themselves to be seen except by night and when it is dark. Nobody has been able to find out where they shut themselves up and hide during the day. When all is said and done, might the dawn of enlightenment disperse the forces of ignorance. Let's hope that someday the forces of the Enlightenment might disperse evil. I would hope that you'll come to see this exhibition at the Albuquerque Museum. It's up through May 13th. Next week we have a guest speaker, Enrique Chagoya, a contemporary artist from Stanford University, who will be speaking. The museum is open every Sunday morning, 9 to 1, free of charge. There's no excuse not to come to your museum and see your tax dollars at work. Thank you to Goya, and happy Poetry Month.